Welcome all to day 10 session. Hi Tripurari, thank you for pinging in advance. So today we are going to see day 10 of our session, like typically building a CI/CD pipeline, right? So I will open my presentation. I put it in a resource folder here, and now here is my PDF which I prepared. Let me download that. Here is the one. Oh, preview section here itself. Okay, I can run it from here. Cool. So it's a day 9, day 10 session actually. So mistakenly it's become day 9. I'll correct it. So welcome all. So today we are going to see our CI/CD strategy, right? What is CI? What is CD? And how to build it in Azure DevOps. Before I do it, I just wanted to quickly go back and see our old problem, whatever we had right on day 8, I guess. No, not day 8, it is day 7. So day 7's presentation I need. I think it's day 6. So if you see, right, I mean in our whatever we are building, so we wanted to build my friend Prasanna's problem, right? He wanted to build a school application. I just wanted to put the things coming, just to see this. Yeah, here exactly it is, right? So this is the problem what we are trying to solve. And so last in session, previous session, we covered this logging, monitoring and all these stuffs. So today we are going to see something about a source code and CI/CD, this maroon box, right? What you are going to see. Okay, so with that, let's start with our day session. Let me go back here. Okay, so code repository. So you all know, right? Like basically there should be some repository, some code repository, maybe GitHub or something we should have. Basically I'll just for everyone's interest, right? If you are not familiar, I'll just go through our repository itself, and I'm going to cover. Let's say, so this is my account, and here you can create a new repositories, right? And so these are the files, and you can see that these are the branches. You can create new branch as well, right? Suppose I wanted to create a new branch. I can create a new branch out of it, or I can switch a branch, right? So I need to log in, and then I need to do it because it's not yet signed in. So okay, so anyhow, if I signed in, I can able to create a new branch across this. Okay, so let's see how we can do this in Azure, basically, right? Azure repos, right? And then typically what happens is there are two kinds of branches. One is master branch and one is feature branch. Earlier we used to have the multi-branch versions, right? We used to have master, we used to have develop, and we used to have more branches, release this, release that. Now, right, with introduction of this microservices and new technologies, so we are stick to two branches. One is master and one is feature. I recommend this site, basically 12 factor app. You can Google it. 12 factor app. This is right. I mean, these are the 12 factors which anything you want to develop now, I think this is still valid. Like this is the best practice. So which suppose my friend, right, what he wanted to develop this project, then he need to recommend, he need to use these things, right? And these are very simple if you see, right? I mean, there's nothing, most of the things you understand. Code base, there should be one code base. You should not have multiple code base, right? So you should have one repo, one code base, right? And then explicit explicit, right, explicit libraries, or like, you know, third party dependencies, everything should be isolate dependency. They should not like linked, interlinked, or like, you know, to compile your code, right, there should be some dependencies and all those things. You should like, you know, clearly separate it out. And then you should have a separate config server, right? Basically, you should not be mixing your code and configuration, everything. You should have a separate configuration server, and it should be separate. Whenever you want to change the configuration, you should able to change without touching the deployment, without doing the deployment and all. Then you should have the backend service. Then you should have a build, release, run, and processes, port binding, concurrency. Yeah, you guys can like, you know, detailedly look into this, right? I'm going to put it in repository, so that you can like, you know, get easily access to this, understand this. Most of the things is straightforward, you can easily understand that, right? So coming back to our PPT, okay, so we understand this branching strategy. For our application, we are just considering only one master and one feature branch, that's it. Now let's talk about a trigger and action, right? So whenever we do the PR merge, what is this? PR means pull request. So whenever you do some changes and like, you know, push it or commit it into main branch, right, then some action should happen, right? Whenever it done on master, then it should able to build my code, test the unit testing, do the static code analysis, and do the version bump, and then go to artifactory. Basically it need to generate a artifact, right? And then like, you know, artifact to the image repository, means whichever image we are using, Docker Hub, or like, you know, if you are using your own organization repo, that need to bump it. And if I go for like, you know, feature version, right, so usually what happens is, so let's consider this case, right? We have these features, right? So suppose all these fee collection, school bus tracking, these things will become the features, right? Fee collection will be a feature, bus tracking will be a feature, or even there can be a sub feature, which, right, in bus tracking, like, you know, GPS location is the feature, or GPS right, map on, like, you know, put it on Google Map can be a feature. Lot of things, features can come, right? So usually what happens is developer develop this on their own feature branch and name. And usually when they push or commit the change, it should not like, you know, it should build basically, right? Build and everything should happen, but it should not like, you know, do the produce the artifact and push it to repository. Artifacts, when I say, it is basically your exe or jar or anything like you generate, that is the artifact we call, which is deployable. Okay, now let's talk about the environment. Okay, now let's say we have developed a artifact. Now we got the exe file or jar file or var file you have generated. So the stages, right, typical, there can be a multiple stage, right? But what I'm just talking about are 4 things here standard. One is a dev test environment. It can be multiple dev and multiple test environment, where like, you know, you can put your artifact tree, and then you can put it on UAT environment, user acceptance test, and then you can upgrade it to stage, or we can also call it as pre-prod, and then push it to prod. So these are the stage, generally, like, you know, people use it. You can use that, right? Okay, let's see how all these translate to. These are the very generic like, you know, things you are already familiar. If you are not familiar, you can also Google more, right, if you want to understand, or you can ask me a question. I think most of people know it. If you don't know, you can ask me the question, or call, or WhatsApp, or any way you can ask the questions to me. Let's see how this translate to Azure DevOps, right? So these are the key concept if you wanted to develop a pipeline in Azure, right? So you should understand this. So one is a trigger, right? So let me show some practical, right, and then only it makes sense. Okay, the first thing is, if you want to like, you know, enter the Azure cloud, then you need to enter URL called portal.azure.com. Let me do that. Okay, anyhow, I logged in. you can see this is the Azure portal, where right you can search for any services, any like if you want to create a Kubernetes service, you can search here, right? All these cloud services you can find it here. If you are not familiar, then like probably I can cover one more thing in Azure about Azure in another thing, right? To log in into your DevOps, right? So you need dev.azure.com. basically you can Google search also, right? This is basically dev.azure.com is your DevOps site, right? Azure DevOps site. So I have to sign in here. This is separate bit, I mean this is separate service which they are not integrated in portal, right? So I have created a typical application here, so when no worries, I'll just create one more thing, and I just did a POC there to show you the school app 2, right? Let me add it, right? So here my project is created. Okay, so this is cool app 2. So what you can do is you can also invite your friends or developers. What my friend Prasanna have to do is he have to invite all the people, right, whom he wanted to get into here, right? So one thing he can do that, or okay, let's see what it is here, right? In this one, the first thing is board. Board is basically to run your Jira, or but to run your Scrum basically, right? It have you can put a backlog, sprint, you have a nice dashboards, queries and everything. So if you want to use that, you can use it, or else you can skip it, no need. If you are running to some other agile board, you can use that. So basically it's very simple, you can also run it from here. Okay, so next comes is a repo. One thing is you can also use your own repo, right? GitHub or something, but let's for time being, let's use it from here, right? So I need to create a new repository. Let's say school tracking GPS, right? Or school tracking, or school bus tracking, right? School bus tracking. This is a very basic repo I created, right? Now you can add the files. This is basically a Git, right? So you can do whatever the GitHub operations you can do. You can do it here. You can clone it, and then right, this is git clone works here, right? So all those stuffs you can do it. So I'm not going to cover detail in this, or probably I can run one more session for Git and all those things if needed, right? So I assume that you are already familiar with this. If not, then I can do one more a short video and I can post it offline. So if you want, you can see that. So by default, you just have one file, right? So today's session, let's concentrate on building a pipeline for this. Just assume that some folders are, this is all about repos, and as I told, I can create a branches. As you can see that I have only one branch. I can create a new branch, let's say feature A. Based on this branch, it got created. You can your git command also perfectly works here, no issues at all. So apart from that, you have a default branch as master branch, right? If you want to control branch policies and all those things, you need to get into project settings, right? Here you have all those permissions, who can do what, a build administrator, project, and all those things. You can look into that. So I'm not going to cover those detailed stuffs here, right? So yep, okay. So I just cross-checked whether I'm live or not. Sometime a day before yesterday it's happened, right? I was just talking and I didn't press the start button, so I just thought I'll make sure. Okay, let me go to next point, that is pipeline, right? So if you see here, there are four things, right? One is board, repo, pipeline, and then you have a test plan, and then Artifactory. Artifactory is basically this is kind of a Docker hub. I mean your local Docker hub where you can store it, all your images, right? By default, Azure provides one. I mean this Azure DevOps provides one. Okay, let's jump to our pipeline. Okay, let's create a first pipeline, right? So let me create a pipeline. So here I'm using this Azure Azure repo Git, right? You can also have options to include your GitHub, or you can use any other stuffs you have, Bitbucket or anything else. You can use it, right? Basically it's all Git, other Git, any other Git basically, right? So let me choose this Azure repo, right? And if you see here, like, I just created this school bus, it appeared here, so I'm just going to select that. Okay, so here you can use, right, new pipeline, or like, just select a starter pipeline. It will just give a basic template, right? So okay, now now the things is ready. I can able to do something. So let's switch back to our PPT and try to understand what it is. Okay, so now we have practically created a pipeline there. So what pipeline contains? A pipeline contains stage, right? A stage, okay, there can be a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, right? In each stage, what happens is you have a job 1, job 2, job 3, and each job have steps. Step is script, step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay, then the another job can have multiple steps, right? So this step have these like this, you can execute. And this agent is basically it is just like your master and slave configuration. So when you start, there can be a multiple DevOps agents, so which will be running, right? They will pick you have to determine this as a VM set. Basically you initially you have to tell that which agent you are using it. For example, I can show you from here. You can see here, like, you can give the pool here, right? Basically pool will tell that what VM image and what the agent will run. It will run Ubuntu latest. If it is Windows system, you can put it Windows, right? So these are basically agents which actually runs the job, right? So they are separate machine. If you see, right, they can be a Kubernetes basically. They can be a pod which will, like, run that operating system image, and then, like, pick your task and execute it. So let's go back to stage. What does exactly this stage means, right? So let's come here. I have already, like, put a sample this one sample pipeline for today's class. I prepared it. So let me go back for that. Let me open it in a new tab. What are the sample? Okay, let me come here, school app. Let me go to pipeline, and let me open this. Okay, so let me select this and go for edit pipeline. Cool. So let's like, copy this as it is, and then we'll try to understand what it is, or, like, let's selectively copy it, right? So okay, the first is a trigger on which branch you want to do, right? So I have to specify that I am doing it on master branch. Okay, then you have to specify a pool of VM images which you are doing it, right? Once you do that, then comes your stages, right? Sometimes it also happens that within a stage you can give it. That is also possible, but generally if you give it, then it means that it is applicable to all stages. But if you give inside the stage, then it will say that it is only applicable to that stage. Now let's write something. Okay, let me write it so that it is easier for you. Let me erase this. Stages I'll do, right? And then, okay, let me copy selectively here, right? Stages, and then you have to give a stage name, right? Or let me paste it. Okay, stage, and the stage name I have given as a build. Now our job start. Okay, as you see in this image, this image here, we have multiple stages, right? So let's say, right, I'll be running multiple stages here. So I'll use this, right, something like this. Let me put stage. Okay, so what all stage I wanted to cover? One is build, one is publish, and third is I wanted to use it as deploy to dev and test, right? I'm just giving an example of a pipeline. So real pipeline may vary, right? And it is just a sample. You will find thousands of sample all over internet. So just to understand and practice, right? This is one of the simplest way to learn, and also this is a proven way, right? I mean, I used in one of my previous project in my company, a similar thing. Or I think you can also see, go and see here, right? In your organization you will find a similar stuffs there. Okay, now what I wanted to write here is, first I wanted to build, basically you do like, you know, compile, build and everything, and then publish it to Artifactory, basically your Artifactory, or like, you know, your image store, or like what you call container registry, anything you name it, right? Basically it is just a repository where you store your artifacts, right? So this publish will go push all these image here, and then this is what about your CI line, and after that you can start your CD lines, right? So CD line will be, then you start a deploy to dev and test environment, then you can start it to UAT, user acceptance test, and then stage environment, and then prod environment. These are the different stages what I wanted to write. Right, now let's go back and copy some of the jobs. Now within, there can be multiple jobs, right? I mean, within one thing there can be multiple jobs. For example, I think I have covered somewhere right here. These are jobs basically, right? Build, UT and all those things. These are jobs and steps. So for that, what I'll do is, let me copy this. Okay, there is a different job, and I'll remove this. Okay, looks all good. So now let me copy this. This is just a, like, you know, dummy, or like, you know, tomorrow we are going to see a detailed thing, because it's just a 30-minute class. I can't teach everything in one go. So today you will be understanding stages, jobs, and basic pipeline structures. Then we'll add some other structures someday, right? So here I have given one steps in this job. Okay, so the difference between you can see that build and here is, okay, I have given job 1, job 2, under job, right? Under job B, sorry, I am putting, okay, it is YAML. You need to be very specific about steps, sorry, spaces, right? So this is what I done. Okay, now let me copy this thing here. Okay, let me copy as it is, right? Basically there is nothing else to, okay, one more thing what I wanted to show, I'll highlight it at later point of time. Okay, so let me copy this as it is. Okay, so here there is an error. Let's fix this error. What to do, there is a job, but you need a space here. Okay, it all fixed, right? You can see that all it is fixed. One thing I wanted to highlight here is, see, there can be steps. Under steps there is something called task, right? There can be a steps. I'm just putting one step can have either script, or it can have multiple tasks. It can have multiple scripts or multiple tasks. Script is simple, right? For example, I wanted to put echo hello world, then it does. And task is basically you invoke some of the, let's say I wanted to do a bash shell. If I wanted to do something else, right, I wanted to do maven build, I can, like, you know, get something like this. All these stuffs are ready-madely available. Plugins are ready-madely available, right? For simplicity I'm just putting like this, right? In coming session we'll come to know, I mean, you will come to know detailed things about it, right? Just I think there is a bash echo. It's giving some error, I don't know why. Okay, cannot read implicit mapping. There is some colon somewhere, or okay, some sort of error. at some point of time, right? So let me peek into Plorum. Okay, let me do that. Okay, or else let me copy this. It's all good one, right? So cool. Let's all see. Let's see. Try to save and run it. Okay, it's telling error. Let me edit it. And let me put this working one. Actually, there can be a small minor bug somewhere. No. Okay, let me try to run this. Okay, cool. I have done that. Oh, okay. I think there is some issue here. So let me try to delete that and see if I can do. Okay. So probably I can explain sometime later what it was. Okay, let me run this and let's see what happens, right? So you can see that here, like, these stages are something like this: build, publish, deploy to dev, UAT, and stage, right? All these, right? Stage and then prod. So whatever the stage you are defining, it all came. And if you go into each stage, then you will find job A1 and job A2. A2, within this you can see the tasks, basically, not tasks. So your steps, basically, right? So like this it all works, right? So now this means that we have what we learned in this session is triggers, stages, jobs, steps, scripts, and tasks, right? All these things you learned it. In next session, let's refine it and add more steps, basically a script and task, to make our pipeline complete. I hope you learned something on DevOps today and CI/CD today. Happy learning. Thank you.